Welcome back to the secret world of human trafficking. I'm your host, David J. Story. I'm also the author of the Omega book series. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Lindsey Shaffer, and she's got a very interesting story to share with us today. So let's get started. Well, Lindsey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I had my daughter May 18th, 2014, and I ended up opening up a child protective service case and calling into CPS to ask for their help and assistance after my daughter was born because we were living, he's now my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
We were living with his parents at his parents' house with biological brothers, uncles of my daughter. So they were fighting pretty much like throughout my whole entire pregnancy. They were physically fist fighting and stuff like that, the biological uncles, and I had to contact CPS to get involved. Mainly, my main reason for calling them and asking them for help was to try to get protection orders against the uncles. And so, but that ended up going the exact opposite after the CPS case started. They ended up not helping and putting me kind of through a bunch of fire hoop programs for 3 years of the CPS case. The case manager that was involved, and she did a bunch of fraudulent type things during the CPS case because I found out later that the 18 or 20 different programs that she was sending me to was not on the Colorado court's family child treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that out after the CPS case ended and looking over the court's parent child treatment plan that none of the programs that she sent me to were on any of those court, paperwork for the
Mm-hmm.
parent child treatment plans that were needed for me to get my daughter back. And I held down 2 apartments during the CPS case. I had 3 jobs. And one day she held me in what's called a parent-child interactional building. And she said, sign these stack of papers. I didn't think of
Mm-hmm.
anything of it. It was the end of the day on one of the programs that she sent me to. And she said, sign these 50 to 100, looked like 50 to 100 stack papers. And we were in a building that had cameras watching us. And, I signed them. And she said, if you don't sign this stack of papers, then your daughter's going to go back into foster care this night. And I didn't want that for my daughter because a lot of the times foster care families aren't really safe.
No,
So I signed the
I
stack of
agree.
papers. Huh?
I agree. They got.
Yeah, so I signed the stack of papers, and then me and my daughter went home, and then a week later, she chose to open up a court case to have my parental rights removed, and this was about after 3 years of the CPS case happening.
Why did she do that?
And then my daughter, huh?
Why did she do that?
I don't know. I don't know. But that's what she did. After I signed a stack of papers in parent-child interactional building, she chose to do that. And then she got Candace, which is the name of the CPS case manager that did all of these things during the CPS case. She got my ex-husband's side of the family involved to come out and get my daughter. And took my daughter to an airport a week later, on the same day, it would be October 16th, 2015, when my daughter left the state of Colorado. But this happened the same day that I was having my gallbladder removed at a hospital. In my book, I talk about my book, The Missing, that I wrote and published recently. I talk about multiple ways how I believe Candace child human trafficked my daughter. During the whole entire CPS case for 3 years, she had me taking my daughter. What Candace said that I had to do, that again was not court ordered, it was not on the court's family treatment plan, was I had overnight visits with my daughter, and I had partial custody of my daughter through a minute order that my daughter's guardian ad litem gave me, and the Colorado courts gave me, saying that I have partial custody. But I would have overnight visits with my daughter, and then Candace would order me to go take my daughter to another foster care family the next day. Just a random foster care family. Like, she would go pick out a random foster care family, and I would have to go take my daughter to a foster care family the next day. And she would do this every other day for like 3 years straight. And I didn't think that that was normal behavior for case managers to do that. That sounds like a case manager that would be desperate to try to adopt a baby or a child out to someone, to like a foster care family and stuff like that. And she almost did do that. There was one foster care family that was very close to the lines of adopting my daughter, and I did some type of like an appeal thing, either through the CPS office or the courts, to prevent my daughter from being adopted through this foster care family. But it very much feels like she was eager to do that, to try to get my daughter with any foster care family. When I had like 2 different apartments during the past 3 years of the CPS case. So that's one way how I believe that she child human trafficked my daughter. And then the other way was I wrote out a report on other things of how she child human trafficked my daughter, but I can't really remember what's in the report. I put the report in my book. But it's like, if she wanted me to bring my daughter to another family every other day, it's like, what was her motive behind that? Because I would think that she would have to have some type of a motive to be doing that. And then another way that I believe that she was child human trafficked was I got a hold of the DHS Inspector General, which I put in my book, The Missing, explaining the report of how my daughter was child human trafficked. And the DHS Inspector General got back in touch with me, and she said, "Good job, Lindsey, for pointing all of this stuff out. It does look like your daughter was child human trafficked, and we will do everything in our power to investigate this thing for you, this whole situation." And then they never got back in touch with me about anything. And the DHS Inspector General gave me, and people that worked under the DHS Inspector General gave me other people and organizations to go around to help me figure out why my daughter was placed where she is, instead of them actually helping me, which I don't understand, because the DHS Inspector General said that they were supposed to investigate stuff and figure things out. And so I want to say that the woman that they sent me to, the DHS Inspector General sent me to, I think her name was Jessica, but I put down her name again in my book. But it's like none of those organizations and those people ended up helping me. They just kept sending me to other wild goose chase hunts. And then I reported everything a hotline. I reported it to Trafficking hotline. And all the information that I sent them about my daughter being child human trafficked and the way she was taken out of Colorado, all the information that I sent them, they gave me a case number, a case ID number for an investigation. And that makes me believe that my daughter was child human trafficked. And so And the fact that, like, that I believe that Candace had me sign 50 to 100 stacks of paper that I didn't know it was that I was signing makes me think that that's a form of adoption fraud. And so I put all of this stuff in my book, the missing, and my daughter's just sitting clear across the country, like with another family right now. And I'm just like, what in the world? I mean, it's not like I feel like today that my daughter's adoption is like avoided. Everybody keeps saying it's a closed adoption, but everything in my head goes back to thinking it's avoided adoption, like with how they handled everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what I think pretty much through this whole thing.
Well, when was the last time you saw your daughter?
Around the week of October 16th, 2015.
Wow.
I saw
That's
her,
over 10 years.
Yeah, like probably about 5 days ago before she was taken out of the state of Colorado, I would say, or no, it would have been, I think, the previous day. I'm not sure, but within that week, I definitely saw her, before she was taken out. And what I found out later, again, after the CPS case closed, was a year later. It was my daughter was taken out of Colorado October 16th, 2015. But my parental rights weren't removed till April 14th, 2016. So it was a year later by Judge Timothy. And the reason why I know this information is because my CPS assigned attorney, state attorney, sent me email confirmation documents saying your parental rights were, I believe, wrongfully terminated April 14th, 2016. She sent me this stuff through email. But my daughter wasn't taken out. When my daughter was taken out of Colorado a year before all of this, like October 16th, 2015, while I still had like a custody minute order saying that I had partial custody. So, yeah, I think that unfortunately, I feel like a lot of fraud type stuff happened through this whole thing. And yeah, like I don't think that she should be where she's at today.
Where is she?
She's up in North Carolina
Okay.
with my ex-husband's side of the family.
Have you tried contacting them?
No, because I feel like that the family that took my daughter aided and abetted in my daughter being kidnapped. Because around the week that my daughter was taken out of the state of Colorado, Candace, who is the case manager that was involved in all of this stuff, made what was called a goodbye gathering at Chuck E. Cheese's up on, I think, North Academy, Colorado Springs. And she did this with me, and then she did this with herself and the family that took my daughter. And I'm going to go ahead and say their names because I put their names in my book anyway, but their names are Melissa and Curtis. And so Candace made what's called a goodbye gathering meeting for all of us at Chuck E. Cheese's, and I agreed to go to it. But my primarily reason for going to it was to confront Curtis and Melissa and ask them not to take my daughter out of the state of Colorado. And this was a week before my daughter was taken out. And I waited for Candace. Candace got up and stepped away. And then I confronted Curtis and Melissa and I said, please don't take my daughter out of the state of Colorado. I have an apartment for me and my daughter. I have 2 jobs. I'm doing all of the programs that DHS, CPS, Candace wanted me to do. Please don't take my daughter out. And Curtis was in the background laughing about it. And Melissa, she just kind of looked down and rolled her eyes, like put her head down like this. Like, this whole situation is so messed up. But I don't think everything is legal. I think that they didn't handle things correctly, and they did a bunch of things fraudulently, and my daughter shouldn't be there today. And I think, like everybody in the state of Colorado will say, it's a closed adoption. But it's like, okay, but how could it be a closed adoption if I believe that there was child human trafficking and adoption fraud, and my parental rights were, I believe, wrongfully removed a year later, like after my daughter was taken? It's like, this whole thing doesn't seem legal at all, for everything.
Well, you listed some programs that they had you attend or go through. What were those programs for?
They were parent-child. It was a mix of multiple different things. So in my head, mentally thinking about what those programs are, they were parent-child interactional counselors. Some of them were just regular parent counselors. Some of them were mental health counselors. And it was just a mix of all of those different things. And she, at the beginning of the CPS case, Candace, that was the case manager, she actually sent me and my ex-husband from Colorado Springs up to Denver, Colorado, which I think was like an hour and a half away, 2 hours, like in driving distance. She sent both of me and my ex-husband to a mental health counselor out in Denver, and me and my ex-husband passed with flying colors for that appointment. But again, it's like all of those things weren't even on the Colorado court's parent-child treatment plan. So, I don't know. I'm just like shocked, left in the blue with all of this stuff, left in the dark with all of this stuff. Like, that's why I wrote a book about everything.
Yeah. How old was your daughter when they took her?
2.
2? So she's what, 13 now? Somewhere around 13?
I think she's 12. I think she's about 12 right now. But yeah, she barely started walking. And then right when they took her out of Colorado, I was getting my gallbladder removed at a hospital. On October 16th, 2015. I was getting my gallbladder removed over at a hospital. I think here, what was the name of this hospital? Yeah, and someone walked in saying, your daughter is about to go to the airport to get taken out. And I actually told them right before I went into surgery to get my gallbladder removed, it's like, stop them. They're doing things that are like illegal, fraudulent, stop. I don't even know who came in and said that. Just some random person came in and said that. And I'm not sure. I believe it was Penrose Hospital that day. And then what I don't understand behind this whole entire thing was, she took my daughter to an airport, and how was my daughter able to get past security and board the plane? Because I didn't give anybody, Candace, prior to her taking my daughter to the airport, she would ask me for my daughter's birth certificate and social security card, state ID and stuff like that. And I refused to give it to Candace. So I never gave it to her. So it's like, how were they even able to get my daughter on the airplane, past security? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just remains a mystery to me.
The rules are for a child 2 years old, what they have to prove as far as identification. Now it's probably a lot, but back then, I have no idea. Have you tried contacting the authorities in South Carolina and have them look into it?
Yes. Yes, in multiple different ways. Over the years, I contacted some police officers, can't remember their names, told them what was going on, that my daughter shouldn't be where she's at today. due to the reasons, explaining here. And I felt like it was just kind of disregarded. I think one of the officers said, "Well, what do you want me to do about it? There's nothing I can do." And they just dropped everything and didn't do anything about it. And then at one point, I remember I sent kind of like a 50-page report in the mail to the FBI out in North Carolina in regards to what happened to my daughter. And I believe that the FBI in North Carolina is in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I'm not 100% sure. I just remember that I sent them a packet in the mail to wherever the FBI is at out in North Carolina, and they were non-responsive. And in my book, The Missing, I also say, like, all of the law enforcement officials that I've spoken to and all of the organizations that I've tried to reach out to. And it's like, I feel like everything is just constantly always swept under the rug. Nobody does anything.
They don't say anything or respond or give you a reason?
They don't get back to me on anything. No. They don't call me back. They don't say that they're working on anything. They just drop the ball on stuff.
Yeah.
And 2023, during my own, because I did an investigation on everything on my own. That's how I was able to put the book together for my daughter, being kidnapped and missing the way that she went missing. Was I did a full-on investigation on everything, and I found out, after the CPS case ended, I found out that Candace, the case manager involved in all of this, and Curtis and Melissa, they all three came back with criminal backgrounds, that they were involved in criminal activity.
Wow.
Yeah, all three of them. And then
Where did you get
2023, huh?
How'd you find that? How'd you find out about their criminal background?
Going on an investigation website where you could pay to look up people's criminal backgrounds and stuff like that. So that's what I did because I was curious, and they all came back positive with criminal backgrounds.
What kind of criminal backgrounds did they have?
Well, Candace came back with a criminal background of drinking and driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol back in 2010, and assault on an officer. And that was the case manager that was involved in my CPS case. And if anyone were to visit her Facebook page, the CPS case manager, Candace, there's pictures of her going to parties and nightclubs and drinking alcohol and stuff like that. And so that's stuff that she has done. And it makes me nervous because as a mom and a parent, it has made me nervous that she's been involved in all of that, because during the 3-year CPS case, she would tell me to go put my daughter in daycare. Again, this was not court ordered. She ordered me, in order to get my daughter back, I have to put my daughter in daycare. So I found a daycare facility, a really good one through a church I was paying for. And the moment I put my daughter in daycare, Candace would go pick up my daughter from the daycare facility and go drive all around town with my daughter through the whole day, and then drop my daughter off at some random foster care family's house where I had to go pick up my daughter. And today, in my mind, that bugs me. I mean, it just bugs me, the fact that she has that type of background, and she was doing that the whole entire time during the CPS case. And then I found out that Curtis and Melissa came back positive with a criminal background, but it was marked as hidden, so it wouldn't tell me what she was involved in. But it said that she did come back positive with a criminal background. Curtis came back positive with a criminal background, and that one was that he was involved in putting in empty checks into his blank checks into his checking account. And another close friend of mine also did a background check on both Curtis and Melissa and found out that they had houses that were foreclosed on. So another confusing thing in my head is, how does a family get picked out to take a child from CPS DHS if they have had multiple houses that were foreclosed on? So that, and then back in 2023, I see photos on social media for Facebook and Instagram of Curtis and Melissa children, as well as my own daughter, near guns and weaponry, like holding guns and stuff like that. And one photo, it looked like my daughter was in some type of a dance pageant or beauty pageant, because she was on stage in a skimpy outfit, like what looked like she was half naked. At age 2, on stage in a tutu. And photos of their own kids also half naked, which was very concerning and worrisome for me. And it hurts me emotionally, mentally, everything, that it's like law enforcement and government can't be investigating all of this. Or if they are, they don't tell me about it. I know that we live in a world that's not fair, but I feel like this whole thing goes on beyond not being fair. That it's very cruel in a way, like what happened to me and my daughter, and like how people are handling things. Yeah, so that's about it, pretty much, with everything. So, I wrote that book, and then my second book, that was for my first book, The Missing. My second book, Imperium Conflictus, also partly talks about how my daughter was also kidnapped. Well, I believe she was kidnapped, but my second book, Imperium Conflictus, more so talks about my spousal support case and my disability case for past 14 years, since 2014 in Colorado, and not being approved. And I think that there's government state fraud behind those things not being approved. And there's a high possibility, like upon me investigating and figuring everything out, there's a high possibility that I believe that the state of Colorado is simply not approving me for back pay for my spousal support case or my disability case, because they don't want me to have the back pay to try to hire an attorney to get my daughter out of a messed up situation. Which is really sad to think about, but that's what I think is partly happening.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Yeah. You never know. A lot of people have lost confidence and trust in our government. And it's coming out every day how some politicians are doing this and that that's against the law. They're really not doing anything to them. They're just turning their head on it, whereas just a normal person like you and me, we would be arrested and be put in jail. But these politicians and government officials, they get away with whatever they wanted to. Tell me about a little bit about your ex-husband.
Well, my ex-husband, it's really, really wild. I think wild and crazy what happened with him. So my ex-husband, he was a machine operator for many years. That's his main background. That's what he's done in the past. We came from Washington out to Colorado. And so when we first got together, relationship wise, he made all of these promises to me, saying that he wanted to start a family, that he had high hopes for us. that those were the things that he wanted to have a family. I got to Colorado. And then it's like, and I put this, I think, at the very beginning of my book, The Missing, but I literally feel like his personality changed and he became a completely different person after he found out that I was pregnant. And, while I was pregnant, we were living actually at his parents' house with his brothers. His brothers' biological uncles were fighting during 9 months of my pregnancy. But it's like he became a whole different person when I became pregnant because we always tried to get an apartment together and kind of like pay 50-50 for like the rent and always helped each other in different things in life with like insurance policies on the bank and cars, and all the stuff that, husbands and wives are supposed to help each other with. Sorry.
It's okay.
And then after I became pregnant, Sorry, this is hard for me to talk about.
Take your time. I know it's hard.
After I became pregnant, he did the opposite. Sorry.
It's okay. That's okay. How long were you two married?
We were married for 3 years. And when I filed for spousal support, I had my own apartment. When I filed for spousal support, I think it was 6 months before my daughter was taken out of the state of Colorado. And I had my own apartment. I had my daughter in my arms. I had, the court paperwork saying that I had partial custody. And, and I had paperwork, I believe, signed by a judge saying that I was married for 3 years, which was the qualifications of being able to get spousal support in Colorado is you have to be married 3 years or more to get on spousal support. And they denied me when I first asked for it. And between my disability case and my spousal support case, I feel like I have been trying to get on both of those things for years, months and years since 2014, just fighting the courts, giving them all kinds of documentation in Colorado. And I just get denied left to right for everything. Yeah, and I feel like that one of the things that I mentioned in my second book, Imperium Conflictus, is when a state and a state government turns against an individual, because I feel like that has happened to me. I feel like the state of Colorado has turned, government people through the state of Colorado has turned against me and denied me for various things that I feel like that I do qualify for, that I should be on today. But part of my question to everybody in my second book for Imperium Conflictus talking about this is, and this is for anybody throughout the United States of America, if a person is put in this situation in any state across the United States, is there some federal courthouse that someone can go to outside of their state to seek proper justice, to ask for disability, to ask for spousal support, to ask for anything that they need and show documentation? Nobody's been able to answer that so far, but I think that that's a good point to make, to get looked into by the government in general.
Yeah. Well, you said you have joint custody. They're not responding to that as far as allowing you to see your daughter?
Well, I actually put this in my first book, The Missing. I actually filed something with the Washington federal courts for asking for custody, showing the Washington federal courts proof of everything that happened to my daughter, where she's at today, how I believe she's child human trafficked, things like that, saying that I do want custody, but I want the custody kind of to be on my family side. I want my family to adopt my daughter and,
Mhm.
kind of have it be an open adoption in a way where I can still be in my daughter's life. And it's not, I forget the name of it. It's something guardianship. Like I could have guardianship of my daughter, but physical custody remains with my family. That's where I believe my daughter should be because she's not in a safe situation today. And I explained this with the federal courts in Washington. And I believe that this happened a year or so ago that I filed this, and I put all this information again in my book, The Missing. And what ended up happening with that is a judge out in the federal courthouses in Washington closed out that court case, transferred it back to Colorado. It was open a week in Colorado, and then a judge just decided to close out that case and dismiss everything without giving me a valid reason why. And I think again that was probably, I'm thinking again that that's probably a corrupt judge that probably did that. But yeah, I've tried for custody. Even before the CPS case closed, for 3 years of the CPS case, I even fought the courts in Colorado. Please close out this CPS case. What they're doing is fraudulent. What Candace was doing is fraudulent. It's not making any sense what she's doing. Please close out the CPS case and give me back my daughter. And they would just dismiss everything and not listen to me.
So, is your daughter still in foster care, or does your ex-husband have custody?
My daughter is with that family out in North Carolina, my ex-husband's side of the family.
So at
And,
least
and
she's
what the
not
state of Colorado
not in
calls, and what the state of Colorado calls as a closed adoption, but I don't consider it a closed adoption. I don't consider it a
at
closed
least she's
adoption
not
because
in
none of it makes sense.
foster care now.
No, not as far as I know.
Yeah. Are you currently working, or I know you said you had disability issue.
It's very hard for me to work because I have too many health issues that are preventing me from working. I'm trying to write books
Okay.
and sell them. I'm trying to write books in hopes of putting them into bookstores to produce money. But that's kind of a 50-50 situation if that's going to work or not. And I hope that it does work. But that's what I'm trying to do right now because, again, the state of Colorado is being difficult with approving me for disability for like 14 years.
I know it can be difficult sometimes to get on disability. Well, tell us where we can find your books at.
My books are on multiple platforms. So I currently sell my books on Payhip, Amazon, Etsy. I can send you all the links to all where my books are later.
Please do, and I'll put them in the notes.
But yeah, so are on all of those places. They're also on Google Play Store. I advertise them on Facebook Marketplace. But I'm striving to get my books into actual bookstores like Barnes and Noble and things like that. I'm kind of in a process where I don't 100% know how to do that, but I'm still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was March last month, I wrote and published 7 children's books.
Wow.
And that was really nice and fun.
Yeah.
So I got
Where are
all of
they at?
those. They're all on those websites, the PayHip,
Okay.
Amazon, Etsy, things like that. I'm hoping to write a lot more books, hopefully in the future, to be released as well.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
Send me where you got them for sale and the names of the books, and we can see what we can do for you.
All right. All right. Sounds good.
All right. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, you have anything else you want to add or say before we
No,
leave?
no, not at this point. No, this is about it.
Okay.
Thank
Well, I
you for
appreciate.
having me here and being able to explain everything of what my books are all about.
Well, I enjoyed having you on the show, and hopefully things will, soon work out for you and your daughter, and hopefully you at least be able to visit her, if not have custody.
I would
So
like that very much.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you
I
would.
miss her dearly. Every day I miss her.
I'm sure. I have two boys and myself, and of course they're grown men and they have children. So I got grandchildren, and they're pretty much grown. So one of them be graduating high school this year. So I know how you feel about not being able to see your kids and all like that. I know as a parent, it's got to be hard, and I know you've been fighting for years to try to get custody for them and being able to see them. And like I said, I hope one day that your dreams and your hard work will pay off, and you'll be able to get custody and be able to hold her in your arms once again.
Yes,
Right.
that's my hopes too. My hopes and goals and dreams. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today. And again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's our show for today. Hopefully, after listening to The Secret World of Human Trafficking, you'll have a better understanding of the dangers going on around you, and hopefully it will inspire you to get involved in the fight to help stop human trafficking. Please follow me on Facebook. You can also contact me at davidjstory.com with your questions pertaining to future episode ideas or comments. Oh, and please check out my Omega book series, Omega 1, The Creation, Omega 2, A Cry for Help, Omega 3, The Head of the Snake, and Omega 4, Inside the Belly of the Snake, coming in 2027. If you have any questions regarding the Omega book series, please don't hesitate to contact me. I hope you'll tune in to future episodes of The Secret World of Human Trafficking. Music by TuneReel.com. This podcast is dedicated to the men and women who are out there fighting every day to save men and women and children who are caught up in the world of human trafficking, so that someday they will be free. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll be a regular follower of this series. That's it for today, and please remember, always watch your six and others too.